Welcome to tonight's horror story. If you're ever on a lonely highway and see an old roadside motel, remember this warning about room 6. A man was driving down a lonely highway in the middle of the night. It was too late for him to keep driving, so he pulled over at the only lodging option for miles around, an old, almost empty roadside motel. The faded sign above the office window flickered on and off, casting grotesque shadows on the cracked asphalt. He walked up to the door and rang the bell. After a few moments, it opened, and he was met by the most peculiar clerk he'd ever seen. With wide, bloodshot eyes, the clerk hesitated before handing him a key. "You want, room 6, he whispered, his voice raspy, as if unused for months. Thanks, the man replied, confused by the clerk's odd behavior. Just, don't leave the lights off, the clerk said, shaking his head. Then he turned and shuffled back into the darkness, leaving the man to his room. With a deep breath, he inserted the key into the lock and pushed the door open. Inside, everything was coated in dust. A single flickering light bulb cast long shadows on the walls, which were covered in stains that looked disturbingly like faces. The air in the room was cold, damp, and smelled faintly of mildew. As he set his bag down on the desk, he noticed an old photograph lying face down on the bed. He picked it up, turned it over, and nearly dropped it. In the picture were two people whose faces had been scratched out. It was the only evidence that anyone had ever stayed in this room, or at least that was the case until he heard it. There was a muffled whisper coming from behind the wall, too low to make out any words, but it was close, like right behind the wall. His blood ran cold when he realized no other guests were in the adjacent room. There was only the wall. He tried to shake off the feeling of dread that was settling over him, attributing it to overactive imagination and fatigue. But then the temperature in the room dropped noticeably. He shivered and pulled his jacket tighter around himself. Then he saw it. Under the slightly ajar bathroom door, a shadow moved. For a moment, he couldn't be sure if what he was seeing was real or imagined. But then the doorknob turned slowly, as if someone or something was trying to open the door from the other side. Before he could react, the bathroom door swung open, revealing an empty, pitch-black void. His heart pounded against his ribs as he scrambled back from the door, and just as suddenly, the door slammed shut. Then the phone on the desk began to ring, the sound echoing in the silent room. As he stared at the receiver, the line went dead. But then the voice echoed through the room. It was distorted and rasping, as if coming from beyond the grave. "Get out now," it hissed. "Get out while you can." Terror surged through him as the voice spoke. The lights flickered once more and went out, plunging him into total darkness. Footsteps began to approach the bed, heavy, dragging steps. They stopped right next to him, and then he felt it, a cold, fetid breath on his neck. He screamed and threw his arms wildly, connecting with something soft and yielding. He cried out, thrashing wildly until he heard the bathroom door creak open. The room was plunged into darkness again. He huddled on the bed, paralyzed with fear, as the door opened all the way. Then he heard the footsteps again, dragging, heavy, wet. They came closer, stopping beside the bed. He squeezed his eyes shut, waiting for whatever horrors lurked beyond the darkness to claim him, but it never came. The next morning, the motel clerk found the door to room 6 wide open and the key to the room hanging outside the door where the man had left it. The traveler's car was still in the parking lot, but there was no sign of him. The clerk walked into the room and found the bed untouched, the sheets clean, as if no one had ever slept there. "That's the third this month," the clerk muttered to himself, shaking his head. As the camera pans away, we can see that the faces in the photograph on the wall have all been scratched out, and now the traveler's face has been added to the ghastly collection. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this terrifying tale, be sure to subscribe for more spine-chilling stories. Also, check out this video.